You're listening to Punisher Waterfowls, the Union 0430 podcast. Brought to you by Real Geese Decoys, the most technologically advanced silhouette decoy on the market. First Light, the best hunting gear on the planet. Go farther, stay longer. And Ducklander Calls, tradition, education, and quality. Built to hunt.
Hey, everybody. I alluded to it last week. We didn't get everybody like I promised. We've got some stuff going on all over the place, as usual. So we did manage, though. Logan Williamson did manage to come on, carve some time out of his schedule. So welcome to episode 147 of the Union 0430. As usual, the constant Phil Christian is with us. And our good buddy all the way from, well, he's living in Idaho now, but he's secretly a Canadian because he lives so close to the border in Michigan.
And his mom's from Sault Ste. Marie.
And his mom is from the Sioux. So we've got Logan Williamson, who anybody that's been following our show know Logan. He's been on a bunch of times. So Logan, welcome, buddy. Thanks for coming on. We've got a lot to pick through here, and we've got to be strategic in what we pick through, because there's some things we can talk about, some things we can't talk about, which only builds that climax for, just before the season. You like that, the climax? But it just builds it for when all this stuff launches. So Logan Williamson from First Light, the Waterfowl category manager. So what better person to have on the show than the man himself that's looking after everything waterfowl with First Light, which, not gonna sugarcoat it, but the biggest and fastest growing company in the industry right now. Not just throwing that out there. William, Logie, thanks, buddy. Thanks for coming on.
I don't think my mom or grandma could have given a more generous welcome there. It's great to be back.
Hey, that's what I do, man. That's my thing.
Coming on here and talking waterfowl with you guys. I mean, literally, it's so awesome. It's to get on here and all the different topics that we're able to cover. But you're absolutely right. There's so much that we can talk about. But I think the most strategic thing here is just going to be, it's been so long since I've seen you guys, since we've had a chance to do this, is going to be just staying on track and making sure that we knock everything out in an hour that we need to, because it's, God knows, it's good catching up with you guys.
Yeah, for sure. So for everybody, I really wish that everybody that listens, I really wish that you could be a fly on the wall before we hit the record button and we get to talking. You've got to go move some boxes and stuff. I know, Logie.
But he's bringing it closer.
No, my computer battery
is dying.
Oh, we got excited.
It's going low on me. But I probably have a thing or two in the home office even that I could show you if we wanted to spice things up.
Show and tell.
Yeah, and we'll get to that. We'll get to some show and tell because, Logie, you're going to talk about some release dates of the new cache. Anybody that's been following First Light over the last 6 months, easy, have seen, the introduction of this cache camo pattern for, that's your flooded timber pattern, really. Now, you guys call it the flooded timber pattern. I think it's going to be the tits up here in Canada. I really do. And I think once it launches, I know Philly is liking it for spring turkey, but
100%.
I think this fall, I think that pattern is going to be lights out up here in Canada. I really, really do. And I can't wait to get my hands on it. But we've got so much to talk about, and I wanted to, for anybody that's sort of kind of new to the show, that's just starting to listen and trying to figure out, our relationship with First Light and why it's only ever been First Light that's been on this show, because we don't reach out to the other companies, but we have a very strong relationship. You and Kevin Harlander came up to Canada, hunted with Phil and I and Dave. and a couple more of our buddies, Brian and Nate. And we built that relationship a couple years ago, and we don't get to talk every week or even every month, but we still try to stay in contact. And that's what you were sort of alluding to when you said it's good to catch up. So hopefully we can stay on track. But I guess for the people that are listening that maybe don't know a lot about First Light and the waterfowl category, because maybe, you know, they just think of First Light as that big game brand. And I know the answer, but can you talk us through the importance of having, because I think you guys are very strategic with who you sort of kind of hang out with and chat with, because you've strategically picked people all over the continent that sort of gives you feedback on gear. Does that sound about right in what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, feedback and gear, and presence in different flyways and just different regions. But I mean, I think we were talking even before we hit record here just a little bit about how guys who hunt the same birds on different sides of the continents at different times of the year, they get after it just a little bit differently. And then you add the landscape in there, small water versus big water, where are they in the migration? It varies drastically. And, as the flyway shift and waterfowlers, we chase those migrations. I mean, Michigan, my home state, is a great example of a state that still has a shit ton of waterfowlers, but the waterfowl numbers there are down year after year after year. Waterfowl license sales for the state of Michigan, it just doesn't line up with even the ducks that are getting harvested, which means that there's a generation who is still buying their hunting license every year in Michigan because they're going to go out a couple times. But what it's telling us when we look at the hunter license purchase numbers for out of state guys is that the migrations are moving west and the hunters are following, right? So duck hunting and waterfowling is becoming more and more of a destination type pursuit than it ever was, I would say, previously. And so it's interesting to see those trends, but it's also just that important to make sure that, because duck hunters don't just need a kit to hunt their own backwater anymore. They need kits that are going to go, season to season, bell to bell, from, across every flyway, east to west, north to south, and making sure that you've got a system dialed for that. I mean, that's the ultimate goal. That's what we're trying to do, here at First Light, and talk about some of the origins. It was, we started in Western big game. We were a mountain brand, but, Nike started on the West Coast, and we're not quite West Coast, but we're mountain times, we're Rocky Mountain time. And, we've been spreading east. The First Light brand, really, all of our brands, Phelps Game Calls, make some of the best turkey calls that you can get on the market now. And again, that's just an example of how we're moving east. And you look and you see our whitetail business is really blowing up, and we're doing some really exciting things there on the product front, on the community side of things, on the licensing partnership side of things, and that's going just great. And what it's helping it do is just get more eyes in new markets. And what's happening is we're starting to see what gave us such opportunity to get into the waterfowl game was just the overlap that our marketing reach was giving us, like, into these new spaces. And the fact that everyone at home, I mean, you guys were wearing First Light before First Light had water, long before I was even at the company. You guys were rocking First Light in the field, and that, you guys aren't an anomaly. A lot of guys were already wearing our base layer, our soft shells, our mid layers, our socks, our hats in the field already as just the core pieces of to get them through the entire season, across every flyway. So, I mean, we were doing it. So we just needed to add a camo pattern. We needed to add some key outerwear pieces. And with the new stuff we're launching in 23, it's going to help just completely fill in a lot of the gaps for, what the waterfowler needs in their kit, including a new camo pattern.
Yeah. I had an awesome train of thought going right there as you were talking, and I was just like, This is going
probably because I was talking too much.
Well, I was
Squirrel.
like, this is going to be like Nobel Prize winning content right here. Like it was going to set us up. But no, and I get it. Oh, that's what I was going to talk about. So you're sort of talking about everybody sort of kind of having an influence, and you guys are reaching out to people, and you're really, instead of focusing on, say, the Rocky Mountains, which you're a mountain brand, that's how you started, and instead of just focusing on that pursuit and then everything that comes with it, I like when you use the term system, and I like it because there is a lot of thought that goes into it, and never before has anybody put the thought into the layering of clothing, right? And building your clothing line. So as waterfowlers, and me and Phyllis talked about this a million times, how it is a very expensive habit, hobby, passion to get into. And people think that they need to go out day one or first day hunting, they need to go out and they need to drop $10K in a gun and clothes and all this shit, right? But yet, like I've been wearing, and Dave, we've been wearing First Light for years, long before the Waterfowl line came, but there was still all of these things that were in place that it just didn't have a waterfowl pattern. And you could say it didn't have a waterfowl pattern, but I wore the spec or the cipher for years, and it worked.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
And that was actually a conversation when I first started too, was do we just expand the use of Spectre into waterfowl?
Yeah.
Because it is a great waterfowl pattern as well. And
it is.
Some of our core 2x4s, it's really, really good. And I think ultimately what led to leading with a new pattern is just when we got some of the earliest iterations of Typha. I think that it just struck a chord with us to say, hey, maybe there is something that we could do that's just a little bit better. And ultimately we think that we landed there.
Well, and the other thing is that, and this is something that both you and Kevin said to me ages ago, was that everybody in the office hunts waterfowl. Everyone.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And that was important to us too, because again, something that you said before we, hit record, just talking about the authenticity in short films, and really, consumers these days are ultra aware of when they're being sold to, and when they're not, being told a story, and how important it is just to make sure that you're telling that authentic story. And that's what we wanted to do. We didn't want to come in and buy shelf space. We didn't want to come in and pretend to be people we're not. Even as we move south and we launch a timber camo pattern, we want to make sure that even though we've spent a ton of time in the south, and we have now this great roster of guys, and not in just influencers, but like line influencers, people who are giving us direct input in the development of the pattern and the product we're using for hunting, timber. It's that authenticity, just to kind of bring that full circle, and not to abuse the hell out of that word, because it absolutely gets abused a lot. But it is important, and making sure that we weren't pretending to be who we weren't. We're largely like, we do have people in the office though that, honestly, Ford is from the Chesapeake Bay. That's where, honestly, I grew up in Michigan, but it came between choosing, just like you were talking about earlier, it came down to choosing between hunting deer and hunting ducks during hockey season, which at that time growing up, you don't get a whole lot of time to hunt. And, when we were doing it, we were, 7 out of 10 times we were going, deer hunting, big game hunting over duck hunting. And so like the Chesapeake Bay, when I moved there, that's when I really kind of had my big
epiphany
with it. Wasn't like, it was just like I fell back in love with them. That's what it was. And really no better place to do it in the country. But anyways, and then we've got guys in our office on the product development team and in the marketing team from Minnesota. And those guys just, all they care about is they're shooting honkers. And like, that's really
Giants
great.
too. And
Giants like Kevy, you know, and so we have that influence. And then Grant, our social media manager, is from Texas, but grew up in like had a family duck camp in Arkansas. They still have the duck camp. Like we've been down there the last 2 years. And so you don't have to look far. Oh, and then, you know, Casey Hawks, we have our own resident. I know, our own resident duck nerd from Idaho.
Way. I'm telling you, there is no fucking way. And if I ever get a chance to meet Casey, I'm going to ask him this. There is no fucking way that he can at the snap of a finger come up with RWSC.
He's just got acronyms coming out both ends.
Dude,
I'm telling you, he's a spectacle. He's a spectacle, and he's a really good shot. But he's another, again, just bringing up another conversation, great conversation we had before we hit record, just to fill everyone in, was the sub gauge conversation.
Yeah,
Casey is the one that if he could, I'm pretty sure he'd if his Red Rider would give him enough range, I'm pretty sure he'd go out there just to prove a point. Because at what point is your gauge small enough that you're like, listen, he was really into 410s last year, and I couldn't stand hunting with him. In fact, he wouldn't let me shoot a 12 gauge. I showed up to hunt with him in a blind. I got there at noon, and him and his buddy made me put my 12 away, and I think they gave me a 28, but still, I wasn't happy about it.
That's how Philly is. Like, if you leave Phil alone, and I'm not fucking joking here, because he's on. So last year he got a 28 gauge, right? So, So if you leave Philly alone, Philly will go, you mark my words, in 2 years, he'll be on this show talking 410's the way to go. And everyone will be like,
I don't know if I'll go that low.
Oh, fuck. Yes, you will. You know why you will?
I don't know if I'll go that low.
You know why you will? Is because nobody else is fucking doing it. And you want to be different. And that's all it comes down to. So I made fun of him for fucking ever, Logie. Because I kept saying, I'm like, 20 gauge is the 6.5 Creedmoor of waterfowl, right?
What'd you buy?
And then I go and buy a 20 gauge. So
on your second.
Yeah, and I'm going on my second now.
Second.
So.
Yeah, the only difference there is the 20 gauge has been sweet forever, and the 6.5 was cool for 2 years.
3 days.
Yeah, 3 days, yeah.
In gun years.
Yeah.
But no, like, you guys have a culture there, and what I was sort of kind of getting to is that, listen, the brand started out west, the brand started up in the hills, and listen, don't for anybody that's listening, don't kid yourself. Like, this is a group of fucking hardcore hunters that are into the pursuit. Like, I watch like Kevin's social media, like, it's ridiculous how much time this guy is spending tramping through the woods.
Or the fields. I mean, Kevin's living in Oregon now too, which I had an opportunity to hunt ducks and geese in twice this year or last season, and it was, I mean, it's hard to say. I moved to Idaho, and the Atlantic flyway is hurting a little bit right now, but I was there for some just absolute banger mornings on the Eastern Shore. But at the same breath, I know what's happened to kind of that Great Lakes flyway and how that's completely shifted. And the Atlantic flyway is hurting big time. I mean, shoot, you shoot your limit on your first volley, and then what? Like, glad I just set this, 4 dozen decoy spread, 5 dozen decoy spread.
But the Atlantic is switching. I think it's 2 birds this upcoming. So you're allowed 2 geese a day in the Atlantic.
This upcoming, they're going back to 2.
They're going back to 2 birds in Maryland. I don't know about anywhere else, but I believe in Maryland you'll be able to get 2 geese this year.
All right, Philly. This is where, Atlantic flyway is the only place I approve of shooting with a 410, because you might want to shoot a couple times. You know what I mean? You might want.
But, and so Philly, Philly is he's into his 20 gauge, but you mark my fucking words. He's pumping 20 gauge. He has been for the last year and a half, 2 years. Pumping 20 gauge. Last year,
but he's been shit ton longer than that.
well, on the show though.
Oh yeah, show wise, yeah. I've been shooting
show
the 20
wise,
for
and then
6-7 years.
Last year he came to a goose camp with us. He brought us 28 gauge. He got a couple geese with his 28 gauge. So you know what? Comfortable. He started to talk about the 28 gauge a little bit more. So you watch him this year. He'll fucking do a little bit more hunting with the 28 gauge. It'll now become the tits until that gets boring.
Oh, it already is the tits.
And then he'll go 410. You watch. Guaranteed. Guaranteed.
I watched it happen with Casey.
Yeah.
We just need to see Benelli put out a couple 410s.
Yeah, well, we don't talk about Benelli on this show. Beretta.
Well,
Beretta all the way. Smug.
whatever. Damn gas guys.
Hey. So, but anyways, again, all over the fucking place here, ladies and gentlemen, as you're listening to us. But you know, Logie, I don't think there's enough. I don't want to use the word attention because I don't think there's enough emphasis put on how strategic you guys are with who you align with. And listen, in the age of social media, there's a million dudes that are like us that can say, hey, we shoot birds, we do this, we're out, we're hunting this much and all this. There's a million guys like us in North America. But you guys, you're very strategic on geography as opposed to the social media reach. Does that make sense from what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, it is definitely a balance. It's a good point.
Yeah,
it's definitely a balance though of just, you know, making sure that you have people with reach in certain areas that are also hunting a specific way. Like you guys, I mean, you guys hunt actually a lot of different ways. I mean, you hunt out of layout boats. Yeah. You hunt out of big boats. Well, you don't anymore, right?
Yeah. But Phillies
exactly. Yeah. You hunt out of a lot of fields. Yep. So obviously geographically it's very important, but also I would say not what's the tougher part, but you can go hunting with someone one time, or even just, follow along on their YouTube channel and see them hunt. But, I think the major qualifier for people, that we've been working with, and not to get all sappy, but it's about the people. And if Kevin were here, he'd say this because Kevin always says this, but and I'm making fun of him, but in the same breath, it's ultimately true. We talk about partnering with people that, we want to have a beer with. And, it's such a funny, but simple rule that hasn't led us really astray yet, and led us to build some great relationships. So, I mean, those are really the qualifiers. Like, are they getting after it in their own regions? Right. And are they telling a story about it? Are they telling a good story about it? And, just using you guys as an example, you're a voice up here, both for other waterfowlers, guys in Canada who, can relate to everything that you're saying and how you talk about hunting your local waters. The guys from the States and gals, and just waterfowlers in general that are listening, who want to hear about hunting in different waters. Something that we talked about this year too, especially with Cash, and this is kind of brings it full circle to something you brought up earlier, is, Cash camos are new, you said flooded timber camo. And I think it's an important distinction that it is just a timber camo. Obviously, we needed to validate it in the heart of, timber hole duck hunting down south. Right. But in the same breath, this got validated through so many different environments, from across every flyway, river bottoms and lakesides. I mean, places that, get a lot of traffic, a lot of duck hunting. I mean, open water, standing in the Chesapeake and blending in with open water and what the pattern looks like there, to conceal you, to, I mean, shooting eiders up, on shoals in Alaska. I mean, the pattern works really awesome across all these environments. So, or in blinds. Blinds is another one. It's so good to have a dark pattern rather than
Absolutely.
a bright typha pattern where you don't have overhead coverage that you're hiding, and you're not necessarily hiding in a lot of shadows if you're standing in corn, laying in corn, laying in really any ag, or whether you're in the cattails of the grass, or like any of just the stubble that like we hunted in when we were together in Ontario.
Yeah.
Like if you're in the shadows, you need a dark pattern.
I
remember,
yeah.
I
remember, Philly. I remember this a few years ago that we were chatting, and there was I was gonna do it was gonna be something labeled Punisher Waterfowl. It was a jacket or some fucking thing. I don't even remember what exactly it was, but I remember it being a dark color. And when I put it out to everybody, asking what their thoughts were, everybody was like, well, why are you doing that color? It's dark as stupid. And I remember you going, if you're hunting in a layout boat or if you're hunting in shadows, you need a dark color.
Yeah.
And I was like, that makes, I was looking at it from a viewpoint of something that you could wear. You could still wear it if you went to the corner store, as opposed to it being a camo pattern, right? It was just a solid color. You could go to the corner store. You didn't have to change your shirt to go to the fucking convenience store. And then
if you're going to Walmart, you can wear anything, but that's besides the point.
But Philly was like, no, like if you're hunting out of a layout boat on big water, you need a dark color, because you got to blend in with that water and as much as you can. And at the time, and nothing against First Light or anything, but at the time it was Optifade. Optifade was the thing, right? And everybody was fucking screaming about it, and they were like, well, this is the best fucking thing. And Philly was like, no, you're not wearing that bright color out diver hunting on the Great Lakes. So I totally get it. Logie, I do. I understand how you guys went all about the continent in testing it, but yet when it come to your final validation, it was in Arkansas, and that made sense, because if you think flooded timber or hunting timber, that's where you think it's Arkansas. It's down south. So what a great place to validate it. But then, you're all over North America when it comes to the testing and stuff. And Philly, I'm sorry, you can jump in here, but that's what I love about First Light, is that you guys don't rush anything. If it's not ready, it's not ready.
Right. Yep.
Crawl, walk, run.
Totally. Nothing is rushed.
Yeah. And it's my own opinion, it's only worth a nickel at best. When it comes to camo patterns, like the new cache pattern, and I would say we've all seen the sample drops and like the little snippets. So it's no secret by any means, across the Webernet at this point. It's a dark pattern in comparison to Typha. Typha is your light, cache is your dark.
Yeah. That
dark is what you want for that flooded timber, because you're up against trees that are dark. You're in the shadows that are dark. If you're hunting out of like pit blinds, boat blinds, all this other jazz, like where you are situated down in that hole is dark.
Mm-hmm.
We gather everything around, like if you're in like a boat blind that's all grassed up, that boat blind's all grassed up. That's all light in color. But any birds that are flying over top and looking down, it's dark. You want the dark pattern.
Yeah, that's a delicate balance, though, Phil. I would say, because you can always make things darker in the field.
I've never designed a camo pattern a fucking day in my life, and by no means do I have a doctorate in any sort of education, but it makes common sense.
That's a good point and a good segue. Like, Logie, when you guys started looking at this cache pattern, and this was something that you said, as a collective at First Light, when you guys said, okay, we've launched Typha, we now need to launch this timber pattern. Like, what's the science behind? Because I know you guys didn't just haphazardly pick a fucking camo pattern. Like there was some science behind it. So like, how did that all play? And the timeline, like that didn't happen overnight, right?
Yeah, I mean, the big thing is you don't want to be, you want to remain abstract. I mean, we make abstract camo patterns. Abstract camo patterns,
Explain
an
the
abstract
abstract.
versus photorealistic. So photorealistic being like a real tree or a mossy oak pattern. It's
Yep.
using a photorealism to mimic,
Mhm.
what's happening in nature, which does a really good job when you're in very specific environments.
That's right. Yep.
You look at Optifade, which arguably, fine camo patterns, good camo patterns. That's an example of an abstract camo. You look at First Light camo patterns, examples of abstract camo patterns where you're using different environmental mimicry in shapes, in textures, but you're not actually, it's not a photo image
Right.
of the environment. And what we found in what we believe in is that, those patterns, when done correctly, when you have the right balance of micro and macro breakup for the intended end use, they're going to be much more effective across a wider variety of environments.
In the army, we called it digital, right?
Yeah.
So we called it digital or digi
Well,
pattern,
digital
right?
digi camo is an abstract camo pattern,
Yeah.
right? So it's just differentiating again
Yeah,
between.
army guys wasn't about to say that we're wearing abstract camo, because that would have put us in a different whatever. Um, got it. So Logie, I wanted to talk about, so we've talked about how you've been all over the continent with regards to your testing, and the people and people that are listening, and I'm not trying to insult anybody's intelligence or anything like that, because this was a new world to me, because I didn't realize all this stuff, even with my background in the military and all this stuff, when it come to getting a new product, and but the amount of testing, trials, and user feedback, because you got to remember, and I'm saying this to you, Logie, but I mean it to everybody that's listening. Like, this equipment was sent out to the four corners of the continent. Test it, abuse it, wear it, tell me what you like, tell me what you don't like.
Take lots of pictures.
Take lots of pictures, be honest, and stuff like that. I'm sure the other companies do it, but I really don't think that the other companies puts the emphasis on. So I know you guys care deeply about the Canadian market, and you want to make sure that that people in Canada are hunting, they're wearing the best that they could wear in Canada, right? So I don't think that the other companies, and I'm not here to slag other companies, but I don't think the emphasis has been on the Pacific Northwest, the Northeast, or even those border towns of Minnesota, Montana. Because for me, if I think duck hunting, I always think south. Like, I was floored. Like, I've had you on, I've had Kevy on, I've had Matt Judy on, I've had David Bingham on, Mario from Final Approach. All these guys that are in the Pacific. I had no idea that duck hunting was so good in the Pacific Northwest until I had these dudes on. So I guess what I'm getting at is that, for me, I always thought everything was designed in the South. If it worked in the South, then it just migrated north. You guys took a totally different approach to it, where you just went everywhere, and then you just validated, especially with cash. You just validated it in the South. Yeah, it works. It does what we intended it to do. But you had four corners, and everywhere in between, chiming in and saying, yep, this works, this didn't work, this worked, this didn't work. I like this, I don't like that. And you guys have built, again, that word system. You've built a system that I think is lights out, man. I really do. And obviously people will say I'm a little bit biased, but
Well, I appreciate it. It's so good to hear it because I mean, at the end of the day, I know, we work together, but at the same time, you guys are, we're partners because you guys get after it, and it's so great to have the positive product feedback loop, good and bad, and we've had plenty of honest conversations about areas of where we can improve or new styles that we can come out with. And I mean, just to kind of address what you said first, we know the other brands are getting after it from a wear test perspective. I mean, what it really comes down to is something that you actually said towards the end there in this system. And like, we believe that our group of guys in our office and our group of hunters, that we have that are on our pro staff, that are doing the wear testing for us, that have that product feedback loop with us. We think that we've developed a better system.
Yeah,
we like our system better, and we think that if we can explain it, if we can get that across to people, we think that they're going to like it better too. And because I think the one thing we do have over the other brands is that we are approachable, and we don't have such a chip on our shoulder, an exclusiveness about us. We're very inclusive. We want to hear product feedback from everyone. We want to make sure that our product works in all these environments, and we knew we were headed south. So when we released when we designed all the gear for the launch in 2022 with Typha, that gear was already made for the timber. Yeah. So it really made the transition easy, because all we had to do is develop the next year was camo, which I say all we had to do. It in itself is its own beast, to getting it where it is today, which is something we're super stoked on. It's an incredible effective pattern across, just like I said, a myriad of timber environments. But that was our big goal. That's what we did this last year. We did that, and then we've got a new platform of windproof outerwear that's coming that you guys are really, really going to like. It looks super sharp. And even some new merino qualities that are coming their way, and we'll be releasing those later this summer. So it'll be, I can't tell you exactly when, but it'll be sometime. I'll tell you this: it's not going to be June, and it's not going to be August. So somewhere right in the middle, there, in that general area.
July.
So, yeah, keep your eyes peeled on your inboxes, on your social, because we'll obviously have a ton of outbound messaging regarding the new products that'll be available. But it's definitely being led by the new cash pattern. Again, it was born in the southern timber, and definitely needed to be validated by those hunters down there in those environments. And then what we ended up with, through that validation, is then heading north and heading, you talk about the Pacific Northwest, and we've got so many guys there that are stoked for this pattern. Actually, our guys at Born and Raised already have a boat wrapped in cash, which, is funny to think about, because they're about as far away from, Stugger, Arkansas as you can get in the lower 48. So again, you just talk about the diversity, of environments for the pattern, and it ended up working across all these different areas and different environments.
Dying for this stuff to come out to use in the turkey woods.
It's gonna be good. I'll tell you, I did shoot a turkey wearing a little bit of cash this year.
Really?
And last year I've been
my biggest
turkey
thing
hunting a little bit.
My biggest thing, like when it comes to turkey hunting, is like I like to sit kind of in a tree line a little bit, like in the shadows.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
In the darkness, where, like, because the shadows, it conceals you a little bit more. I wouldn't say it hides the movements, but it darkens you up and makes you stand out less. And I feel that's where that cash is going to come in. Like I get it, it's a total waterfowl pattern, but I feel like for turkey hunting, it's going to be a fucking huge hit.
Yeah,
well, there's a reason.
we're a
I mean, Philly, to that
waterfowl
point, there's a
brand,
reason
Philly.
that Bottomland, has been such a phenomenal,
Like
turkey
I'm not
hunting
gonna
pattern
lie,
over
like
the years.
Bottomland is one of my favorite patterns.
Sure, yeah. No one's here to to hate on the king of camo there either. It's a great camo pattern. It's diverse, and the same thing. Over the years, you saw so many more people. It was developed largely as a well, it was kind of developed largely as an everything pattern. When you look at some of the OG Real Tree and OG Mossy Oak patterns, I mean, they were basically Bottomland before Bottomland became, waterfowl specific. But yeah, I mean, you've seen that progression, with the patterns throughout the years, and they seems like what works really well for, some of those dark hole duck hunters is like that perfect darker transitional color palette for turkeys. So yeah, we'll be stoked. We'll be stoked for it for turkey as well. That's for sure.
I wanted to circle back on something, and in true form of this podcast, we're all over the fucking place, but I wanted to circle back on something, and that is, this attitude within your office, Logie, where not only are you employees, but you believe in the brand, you believe in the company, and you take on all those, those core values, those mission statements from the company and stuff. And I want to tell you something that I see as just a dude that's on social media and stuff like that. So these various First Light groups that are on Facebook, that are, as soon as a picture is up, you got those detectives that are picking apart this. Oh, what jacket is he wearing? What's this bag and stuff like this? So, that's out there. But I'm going to tell you, the social media guys at First Light and the customer service guys, like, they monitor, and I'm sure you know this, but I don't know if everybody else know it, but they monitor all these groups as well. And when there's a legitimate question, those guys chime in and will educate people on what's coming up, what's going on, or if it's a warranty question or anything like that. Like, as long as it's a legitimate question, right? Like, they're not fucking answering every swinging dick that's out there asking questions or complaining or whatever. But if it's a legitimate question, legitimate concern, so Nate and I forget the other guy's name that usually, and he'll always say, hey, it's Joe from First Light or whatever, and they'll always start their messages here. It's a culture, and we talked about it before, even before Phil came on the show here, when it was just you and I, how tightly knit that entire office is. Like, you guys hang out all day at work, you get off work, you hang out after work, and you just accept the culture. You drink the Kool-Aid, for lack of a better term.
No, that's it exactly. But I've been at big companies before. I mean,
of course you have, yeah.
It's easy to do that. It can be easy to do it in a corporate setting, but I've never worked anywhere, and probably never will again in my life, where you just genuinely like everyone. Like, even in the best organizations, there's always a couple people that you're like, no, right. Fuck that guy.
Yeah.
But everyone is so cool. They're so great. And we have people from every reach. Like, we've got folks from Arkansas, we've got folks from Texas, we got folks from Maryland and Michigan. Yeah. Nate, who you just mentioned, our customer service team, will not miss an opportunity to give them a shout out, because it is what sets us apart. It's
I think so.
It's the close personal, that inclusive relationship that we have with people. You bring up Nate, and Nate, another Michigan guy, he honestly, what makes him so happy in his day is talking to people about hunting and hunting gear. And you know what, for someone who's going to, be a customer service rep for us, to find someone, who genuinely enjoys it as much as he does, it just makes the customer experience, that much better. And, there's good attitudes around the office. There's good appetites. There's a lot of good cooks. I swear we are always eating so well in our office, and fed people are happy people, especially when we're getting fed by, some of the people in our office. It's like, it's not whether you can cook or not in our office. It's just a fight for who's the best, and everyone wins that competition. It's
almost
really
like a fire
good.
department.
Almost like a fire department. That's awesome.
Totally.
Good dig, Philly. The one thing I liked was when the winter was on the go and watching your personal social media was after work, your guy, that how many people showed up for a game of puck. Like, that was awesome. Like, because you know what? Like, as a Canadian,
that was during the middle of the day, though. That
Yeah.
wasn't after work. That was 12 noon, 11:45
Oh, that was at your
in the
lunch
morning.
hour, right?
Oh yeah, right across the street we've got the Campion Ice House, which is where the local development plays. Actually, the U18 national champion
Nice.
boys team is right
Yeah.
here. The Sun Valley Suns, they won the national championship this year. Their warm-ups were all First Light Uncompahgre jackets,
Wicked.
which is really great. Honestly, it
that's
is, but it's a great. But right next to it is the rodeo, like, fairgrounds. And so there's like big stadium seating, but they make just this sickest outdoor rink in the winter, and they drive the Zamboni out the back door of the rink, and every night they'll hit it. So by the time we go there to skate at a noon skate at lunch, it's just, I mean, it's baby butt smooth. It's Sun Valley, so the sun is always out. So it'll be 20 degrees and cold, but I mean, the sun's shining on you. You got to wear sunglasses. It's bluebird skies with the mountaintops all around you. I mean, it's honestly one of the more beautiful places I've ever played hockey before. And I'm very fortunate and blessed to be able to do it on my lunch break with a bunch of people from Arkansas. You know what I mean?
Sounds
what
rough.
Are you doing? Yeah, what are you doing for lunch? Oh, I'm gonna go play a game of puck with some
That's
buddies.
Logan's Northern Ontario heritage coming out.
right there.
Yeah,
right there. But it is cool because there's been so many people that tried it for the first time. I mean, again, we've got 3 people in the office from Arkansas, where, I mean, like, ice fishing and ice hockey, new activities for them, and to see them embrace these new sports just head on, and like being successful at them has been very fun to watch.
That's awesome.
To watch our California guys, one of our guys, Matt McGee, who runs our operations department, he went head on hockey this year after never playing in his life, played in the Stanley Pond hockey tournament with me, and just like over a weekend I watched him just come so far.
Hold on.
And then immediately
pond hockey?
This pond hockey tournament is absolutely incredible. And
dude, you need to stack a team.
Well, you can't. It's all random draft.
Really?
Yeah. So you signed up. There's 75 people last year, 75 slots, and you like give yourself a self rating. And last year, it's a good thing hockey players are so damn proud, because you're supposed to give yourself an honest grade. And I know that hockey players are just too damn proud to give themselves a low grade. But if you were smart, you would rank yourself very low and then come in, and your team would be more stacked, because they're going to put a bunch of 10s on a team. That's the reason for the ranking system.
We got to come and play in that, because not for anything other than I would love to be on an ice surface with the mountains in the background.
It was absolutely incredible. Cool. What weekend was that? It was February 5th. You come for a week, and we'll duck hunt the closer here, and then we'll go play hockey the next weekend.
Sweet.
Road trip.
Fellas, I have no idea how long we've been talking, to be honest with you. I have no idea.
Probably
No,
getting close to an hour here.
Oh, we've got to be getting close to an hour.
We're getting there.
But there's still so much that I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about, so here's one thing, and I know, or I shouldn't say I know, I don't think you know too much about it because it's so new. This Dave Smith decoys, like that showed up. So you know how I learned about it? Through LinkedIn.
Really?
Yeah, through it showed up on
we're quick on LinkedIn. I mean, I think that was part of the press release, but LinkedIn, it is amazing because to your point, our communication on LinkedIn is very fast, which is kind of funny.
And I was like, this got to be it. There's no fucking really. And I think it was Nate that reposted it, which is the reason why I seen it, because right. And I was like, what the fuck? Seriously? Which is, that's a different level, man. Like at Dave Smith decoys, and I'm not going to steal any of your thunder, Logie, but like that's a different fucking level when it comes to a brand that you're going to, attach yourself with.
Sure. I mean, well, there's no thunder to be stolen. I mean, it's all theirs. I mean, they make a premium product. I mean, cream of the crop, absolutely. And I wish I could speak to it a little bit more, but it really it was super hush hush. Yeah, it was super hush hush. We didn't know about it until it happened, but I tell you,
that's crazy.
We're happy as hell about it. I tell you what, especially come next turkey season, you better believe it. I'm gonna have multiple flocks of DSD decoys on my back. That's for sure. But it's exciting. They're a great company. Obviously, the brand, extremely strong brand presence in the market, and being the product guy. I mean, the product quality speaks for itself.
Well, let's be real. Like Dave Smith's are like the Purdy of flow bodies.
That's a great analogy. Actually, it's a fantastic analogy.
Sorry, Phil.
The Purdy of
the
full
Purdy,
bodies.
The Purdy, Purdy.
Purdy. If you don't know what Purdy guns are, I suggest you get on the fucking Weber net and start looking.
I'm going to look at it.
You may have to sell your house to buy one.
Oh, okay.
Put your phone down.
Yeah. Well, I was going to search Purdy guns because I don't know that term, but
just don't.
Yeah.
Have you heard of Holland and Holland?
Yeah.
Up that.
Oh, hey.
Yeah.
Right. But it's impressive.
I think we started at $250,000.
Philly's over here plugging them, just hoping that maybe he'll get a discount.
Not a chance.
Probably still have to sell a truck to get enough money.
Truck boat, my entire gun selection.
Probably had to sell a kidney. But it's impressive because the FH gear, I'm not a big I'm not a big turkey hunter. I grew up hunting moose, but in Newfoundland, hunting moose is really not hunting. It's really just driving down the road and knocking down an animal because that our population of moose is so high. So the Phelps side of that whole thing that you guys have on the go, I don't really pay attention to. But as a gear guy, as an army guy that fucking loved gear and things that made life reasonable or easier for me, that FH gear shit I love it, man. I love that stuff. I love how simple the designs are. Just using moly, which I love the fact that moly is making its way into your shit because it's the tits, right? Like it really, really is. And for people that don't understand what moly is and have never used it, it's a game changer. Once you get used to it, it's a fucking game changer.
I would say it's effective at what it does. It's I mean, quick change opportunities. It's just, you got to be smarter about it in how you swap out those platforms. But with the thing that's great about Molly is that the systems are universal. They are. Doesn't matter where you are. And we're integrating into a lot more of our products, into First Light products, obviously FHF, those platforms are largely built on those MOLLE systems, but integrating them into apparel so that we can integrate some of these accessories into our stuff. A great example is FHF makes a MOLLE shot shell holder, a platform that weaves into. I'll actually show you the TPU chest rig here, but can stick on the front of that. And I mean, that's such an awesome accessory, because what's the thing that wears out on a waterfowl jacket the most? It's going to be your elastic shell loops. You look at a jacket that you've had for 5+ years, and that's what starts to get stretched out. Well, having it on the MOLLE based system allows, if it ends up getting stretched out, rather than your jacket being ruined, you just slap a new one on. You just buy a new one and slap it on.
The bino harness, that they do, which will fit regardless of the brand of optics that you like to use. The bino harness is good. But what I like about it, and I don't have it, but I'm going to buy it, is that I can have my binos, but I can have my 8 shot shells right there, right in the middle with my bino harness. And, for some people, it probably doesn't mean much to them, right? Like they're like, well, I don't need access to 8 shells that quickly. And that's great. That's fine. There's a group of people that don't need it. But there's a group of people that are like, fuck, I want to have 8 shot shells that are very, very, very accessible to me. And I love that bino harness for that reason. So that's a new purchase that's coming before the fall as well.
And I'll show you guys this one just a little bit closer for anyone who is going to be watching this. But basically, this is the new FHF chest rig. The only difference is that it's made in the same TPU coated blind bag material that we used in ground control pack. So you're really getting an ultra water resistant package here. It's super, super durable, matte finish, low sheen. It's just a waterfowler's dream, because again, while we like that coated fabric, if it gets super muddy, which it's bound to get muddy, it dries and just brushes right off, or you can hose it right off and you don't have to worry about the material soaking anything on the inside. But I'll be the first one to admit that using a chest rig while waterfowling was something that was very new to me. I wasn't used to it. I honestly thought initially my position was that adoption by waterfowlers would be slow. But again, I mean, I've worked for military brands and companies, and there's a reason that the most efficient killers in the world wear everything on their chest, and it's accessibility. It's keeping a gun stock free and clear of where you need to mount the weapon, and and honestly, there's just so many congruencies that we can take, and that's honestly why FHF gear has such a great, in my opinion, just the best perspective on building gear and accessories for this, because there's so much translation between tactical and hunting, and I think that sometimes it gets it can get a little too convoluted, with tactical gear, and you lose a little bit of sight of the true mission, which is to not necessarily like look the coolest, although all the gear looks very cool. It's to make you more efficient in your system, and we bring it back to the system. How does everything integrate together?
Tactical is a fucking thing, man. It is.
It is a thing, but I'll tell you, a lot of the tactical systems aren't. They're not what the operators are wearing. It's because they're not the most efficient systems. And so I'm not pointing any fingers across the industry. I'm just saying that there's a lot of opportunity to draft off of tactical in hunt, and not from aesthetic, but from use case, and like dialing in your system. Is it going to be the exact same needs of an operator to a duck hunter? No, absolutely not. But like, can we be more efficient killers? Can we take some of those things? And so, and we talk about just needing to bring different things into the blind, right? Like I had a lot of opportunities this past season to hunt small water where I'm just bringing a dozen decoys on my back and I'm just sitting for a couple hours in the morning, like literally like maybe 2.5 hours. If I've got a bag of decoys on my back and I've got a chest rig on the front of me that's got my essentials and enough for, 4 volleys, like that's that's all I need, right? It's just got to carry, enough donuts to get me through the morning. And that's where that has really come in, but also where the chest rig has played the biggest role is actually in the South in flooded timber. I mean, you're walking into environments where you can't set anything down. There's no surfaces around you at all.
That's right. That's right.
And you may be in a position totally.
Trees.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you may be in a position where you have to hang your bag 10, 15 yards back behind you in thicker cover. And it just being able to have all of your necessities, over top right where you need them. And then being able to use it as a go bag, being able to take it off and throw it back on a moment's notice and just know that all your essentials in there. I'd say the chest rig I was the biggest skeptic, and it became the most quintessential piece of gear for me this last season.
I wanted to bring up, because I don't own it, but I know Philly does, and that's the ground control pack. And I really want it because I haven't really gotten Philly's full opinion on it. But I know, but he bought it and then took it out west.
Buy 2.
You had 2?
No, buy 2.
His reaction is buy multiple, which I love because it will be available in cash camo coming this summer too, which is a real.
I'm not
the ground control pack.
I'm not gonna lie, Logan. I might actually sell mine and get the cash. That bag has been the best thing since sliced bread. I'm not gonna lie.
I've been using it as an everyday bag for quite some time now, and I honestly it actually carries a laptop okay in that back panel, but it more and more I use it, the more it grows on me. Not that it was the dream bag, honestly, for me. The most fun project I've ever been able to work on, the coolest product I've ever had to work on.
That bag
thus far
is like hands down one of the, like, next to my guns, one of the best things I've ever purchased. I'm not gonna lie.
Especially you, Phil, just because you take a lot of pictures and you're bringing expensive camera gear into the field with you, and it's modeled off of the inside of it's modeled off of a camera bag, so it keeps your stuff pretty secure. For
the last, I want to say 2 years, I've been eyeballing, like, trying to get like a backpack style camera bag. So if I ever am going out to do like camera shoots or photo shoots where like I'm not hunting, I would like a backpack to bring my camera gear. So to begin with, like, I was in the market for like 2 years, and like I looked at Filson, I looked at Sitka, like a number of companies that make like that waterproof,
the dry bag backpack. Yep,
exactly. And you guys came out with this bag, and obviously I may or may not have had a slight sneak preview into into said bag.
Yeah.
But when I laid eyes on that bag, I'm like, yep, done, sold. Like wasn't even a question. So I took that bag, the ground control, out west to Saskatchewan last fall for a 10-day hunt, and like that was actually my carry-on bag, because size-wise,
it's a good carry-on size.
It fits the parameters of a carry-on.
Well, it pushes right up to the limit.
Damien's waving the bird dog for anyone that's watching the said show. Fuck you! What is sacrilege?
Planned into the States, and
you're getting low.
Ooh.
But so I use that.
I owe you a drink.
Ground control.
Mine's up. Yeah, mine's up at the house. I don't have it on me.
Oh, fail.
Where's yours, Philly? Don't fucking say fail. Where's yours? Oh, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Someone's buying Philly a drink.
I buy Philly drinks all the time.
Stand by. Boom. Domino, motherfucker.
The funny thing is that he keeps it in his wallet right there, and he gets like the condom ring in his wallet, but Phil's not getting laid. It's just his challenge card.
Anyways, so back to the ground control. So I use that as my carry-on for the trip out west to Saskatchewan, and like that was my everyday bag. And for everyone that's ever
Did you
hunted,
drive or fly out there? Sorry to
we
interrupt.
flew.
You did.
We flew. And for anyone that knows in Saskatchewan, their dust sucks. That shit gets into everything. My wife just texted me. She's probably giving me shit because I just yelled. Oh, she just yelled, Domino. God bless her. Anyways, but yeah, hands down, like for the bag out west, because like I had the shoulder straps tucked the whole trip. Because like we were fortunate, like we were driving into every field that we're going into. So like literally
nice.
that handle that was in the dead center of the back, that's what I used for 10 days. Well, I guess 8 if you minus the flight back. But like that handle, but a cat's ass. Pick it up, throw it on the ground. Yeah, this is where I'm gonna lay this morning, and start grinding away, start shooting ducks, start shooting snows and whatever else. We're going on vacation to British Columbia this summer to go visit my in-laws.
When?
Second week of July.
I'm going to British Columbia the second week of July.
And guess what?
Are you going to the island?
It's gonna be my
I'm going to the San Juan Islands.
I got no idea where the fuck that is.
I don't know either, Philly.
It's got to be off. It's got to be off Vancouver Island.
But guess what?
Got my passport. I'm ready.
The ground control. It's going to be my carry-on.
Me too.
Twinsies.
So here's a question for you. Here's a question for you, Logan. And I never precursored this question, so you can yell at me offline if I'm asking this question. But I know that you guys have linked up with Tangle Free when it comes to, because I've got 2 Tangle Free panel blinds in Taifa, and there's all kinds of stuff out in Taifa from Tangle Free. Are you guys doing a Tangle Free blind bag in Taifa or Cache this year?
Oh yeah. So
because I haven't seen it yet.
What can you tell us?
If you look closely over my right shoulder, there it is.
Yeah, gotcha.
But it we'll be adding a couple new items to the Tangle Free assortment this year, including one of their blind bags that'll be available in Taifa camo. And then we'll be adding a couple new items as well. We actually just had a meeting on this today. So just making sure we've got all the assets together for the launch, but we're super excited about it. We've been using all the product. We'll have a bunch of new product that'll be available in Cache, and then some new products to the assortment that'll be available in Taifa.
I can't wait, buddy. You have no idea. Well, I'm sure you do, because I bug you all the time about questions and shit like that. But
nah.
I can't wait. Like, I really can't wait for Cache to be. I really can't wait for the month in between June and August.
Called July.
When everything comes out. Because like I said, I've got money. And I've been holding on to it. And now you guys just launched a bunch of new t-shirts, and I'm like, man, I'd like to have some new t-shirts, but that's my money, and I really want, and I know I'm aware of some things that's coming. I'm not aware of everything that's coming. I know of some things that's coming, and the things that I know are coming, I know I want. So I got to stay away from buying t-shirts and hoodies and all this
Damien,
stuff.
You need to start standing out on the street corner or selling pictures of your feet.
Well, I would sell pictures
Damien's
of my feet.
would fetch high dollars.
Well, Logie, you're the expert when it comes to this stuff, so I got to fucking take your word for it.
I've unfortunately looked at a lot of feet, especially my footwear years.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've been going. So
that's been an hour. This is the Union Zero.
No, we're on an hour and a half now. It's 9 o'clock, so we really started recording at 7:45.
I think it was day. I was just before
7:45. So it's
nobody cares.
So it's an hour and 15 minutes. So, but it was great content. So, could you imagine how much we could talk about if Dave and Kevy showed up?
Oh gosh,
we'd be here for days.
Glad they didn't.
We'd have a month worth of episodes.
Yeah, we would. we
We
would.
we
But
would be able to go
but
on
the
vacation.
good thing is, so Logie, the good thing is that after Duck Expo, down south, when you guys are done that and you actually do the launch of Cash and all the new products, it would be great. And I know you guys are busy, but if you're able, it would be great to get you guys back on, talk about the new things, what inspired it and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I know you
absolutely.
guys are busy, but
No, even if maybe it would be cool, even if we could maybe I could come on even during the Duck Expo, and just kind of
oh,
give you a
that
report
would
in
be
of like
fucking
what I
cool,
saw on
dude.
day one, if there's any cool products around the
That'd be
show,
really cool.
the new interesting worth
Little
looking on.
recce.
So yeah, exactly. Maybe I'll put a disguise on, grab a supplier badge off the
Yep.
rack, and
Just toss on a big dirty
I'm not
fake
gonna
stash and
lie. I'm not gonna lie. I
go into the
really
Sitka
did.
booth.
I really did think about, can I get down there just for that trip? Like fly in, do the trip, take in the show,
fly out.
and fly out. And I really thought about, could I swing it, and it's only money wise, right? It's not time or anything
Sure.
like that. It's
It's only
100%.
money. They make more of it every day.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
tell you what though, Damien, something that is tough about not only living in the middle of Idaho, but having friends that also like to live in remote places is that it's real expensive to fly from the middle of nowhere to the middle of
Yeah,
nowhere.
buddy. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, this was episode 147. Thank you. Hey, if you've stuck it out this long, now I'm going to show you this beauty. It's going to be badged with Punisher Waterfowl. It's going to be available only at the Grimsby Outdoor Festival in August. So you're not going to get your hands on these until August, until we get them badged and they're ready to go.
Except
but I'm going to tell
the one you're going to send to me, right?
Yeah, that's right. But I'm going to tell
Appreciate
you, these hats will not be found anywhere in Canada. I am the only person in Canada that's holding them.
It's very true.
For now.
Exclusivity drives demand, Damien.
That's right.
Exclusivity drives demand.
Logie, our Philly to you, buddy.
Absolute pleasure as always, Logan.
Billy, it was so good to see you, man. It was so great. It's always great catching up with you guys. I'm glad that Phil, you were able to join us this time, because I don't think you guys were able to last time. And hopefully Kevy and Dave will be able to get on with all of us next time. We'll get the whole gang back together, the whole degenerate group.
Yeah, right. It was good to be seen, buddy. And I cannot wait for the cash to come out.
Yeah, we'll keep your eyes peeled for your email inboxes. This is my shameless Verse Light plug. Keep your eyes peeled for communications coming in your email inboxes and on social, on the availability of cash, previews of the collection, and all the new gear to come for 2023 Waterfowl.
I'm not gonna lie, I troll the website once a week.
I wanted to say this earlier, but if you're not on the distribution list, the email distribution list with First Light, go to www.firstlight.com and put your email address in there so that you get those updates. I think you'd be very, very happy with the updates that come in through through those means. So I wanted to put that plug in and get that. So Logie, Philly, thank you. Logie, last words to you, my man.
I just want to thank you guys for coming on here and just shooting the shit and being able to come on, have a drink with buddies, talk about duck hunting, everything about duck hunting. I mean, that's why we do what we do, right? It's just it's about the people we meet, the people we get to hang out with, the experience we get to enjoy in the outdoors together. And it's great that we get to do that even over all the miles between us. And like we said earlier in the show and stressed multiple times, it's all about relationships. Honestly, it's about the feedback. And I mean, that's why we all do it. So hats off to you, gents. It was great to see you again.
Absolutely. Thanks, Logie. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Union 0430. again, we'll never pretend to be someone that we're not. We're not experts. We're a group of dudes that just love hanging out, talking to our friends and talking duck hunting. Be good to one another. Don't be a douchebag. Big love. Until next week. Ciao.